These quakes pose no threat at all. The reason that you've never heard of them is that they're out of this world.
We're at ignition sequence start. The engines are on.
My next earthquake story is all about our close encounter with the moon. On July the 16th, 1969, when Apollo 11 blasted off towards the moon, it wasn't just carrying a trio of astronauts. Apart from its valuable human cargo, Apollo 11 also carried a number of scientific instruments.
Really?
What's extraordinary to realise now is that in these early flights to the moon, these science experiments were almost an afterthought. That science was so intent on simply getting the craft to the moon that it didn't give too much thought about what Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong would do once they got there.
They did look at someone else did.
Of a rush, they put together instruments that would measure the moon's magnetic field and investigate solar wind. But the one that interests me is a specially designed seismometer placed carefully on the moon's surface by Buzz Aldrin.
Yeah.
These seismometers
Quakes on the moon
reveal something totally unexpected about the moon.
And that is mint seed and mashed potato in my mouth.
The seismometer was a very smart bit of kit. It was powered by solar panels, which would run for as long as
SP's solar panels.
Once the lunar night kicked in, after about 2 of our weeks, the seismometer was closed down.
Okay, that's good.
To operate properly, it had to be perfectly level. The astronauts didn't have time to do this, so the seismometer was fitted with motors so that it could be leveled by remote control from Earth. For 2 weeks, the seismometer made the first ever recordings of the moon's jolts and tremors.
Why didn't you fucking tell us about that on the news? Motherfuckers, man.
It even picked up the vibrations made by Buzz Aldrin climbing up the ladder into the lunar module.
Sensitive instrument.
But that wasn't all. As more seismometers were sent up, the data sent back showed to everyone's amazement
Freaked them out.
that the moon had thousands of quakes every year.
Yeah.
Moonquakes.
We know about those, God, don't we, God? Those of us who are linked to the lunar cycles.
This came as a surprise to scientists, because the moon has none of the geological features that cause earthquakes here on Earth.
But the moon and the Earth are one.
Entirely solid rock. It has no tectonic plates rubbing up against each other.
Yeah, so what?
So what was the cause of these moonquakes?
Fucking moon monsters, man.
Well, they finally worked it out. And amazingly, many of these quakes, the really deep ones, are caused by the Earth.
Now we're getting
the same way that the moon's gravity pulls at our oceans, creating tides, planet Earth exerts a gravitational pull on the moon.
Cut some off and eat it.
Oceans or tides.
Eat some of this moon.
Pulls at its rocky structure. There's a buildup of strain.
Nice moon.
These rocks to form. And the strain is then released through moonquakes.
Interesting.
And what came as a real surprise is that, unlike the short, sharp events we have on Earth, moonquakes can last for up to an hour or more.
Yeah.
That's 60 times longer than most quakes on Earth.
Moonquakes.
But it turns out there's a very simple reason for this.
Yeah? And what is that? Ripples in the pond.
Seismic
wave theory.
Through the Earth's crust, they die away pretty quickly. Even the biggest earthquake shakes the ground for just a couple of minutes. And that's because there's water on the Earth. And rather than acting like solid rock, the crust acts like a giant sponge, soaking up the energy of the seismic waves.
Okay. Water again.
But the moon has no water on its surface. And when a moonquake strikes, it sets the whole sphere vibrating like a tuning fork. So that's why quakes last so long up there. There's no liquid to absorb the vibrations, so they just keep going and going.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. My kind of shit.
Just imagine the destruction an hour-long earthquake would produce in the average city here on Earth.
Well, you might not have to imagine soon. If the Earth's electromagnetic field keeps fluctuating like it is.
They have to make sure our houses were moonquake proof.
One giant leap for mankind.
My next story couldn't be more different.
Yeah, what's
It's
that?
about an earthquake fault that's destroyed empires
Really?
and deposed kings. But not
Interesting.
because of the violence of its shaking,
No?
but rather because of its extraordinary powers of prediction.
Okay. Delphic Oracle.
This is Delphi, on the slopes of Mount Parnassus, the centre of the universe for the ancient Greeks. Here stood one of the most famous of all Greek temples, dedicated to the sun god Apollo.
That's me!
In the 7th century BC, this temple had a surprising dependence on earthquakes.
ST.
For centuries, this was the site of the Delphi Oracle.
Well, why did they name all those moon shots, you know, the rockets going to the moon? Why did they name them Apollo? And why was the first lunar moonwalk planned, as I understand it, for the 21st of July, but they couldn't wait? So they went out on the 20th of July? Correct me if I'm wrong. Apollo. Really?
People came from all over the Mediterranean to ask if they'd be lucky in love or in success.
Yeah, it's like going to Blackpool.
Their answers determined the fate of people and nations.
It's because she was smoking spliff.
But things could go horribly wrong. For instance, legend has it that in the 6th century BC,
Yeah?
the Pythia was consulted by Croesus, the last king of Lydia.
Yeah.
One of the ancient world's super rich, he ruled over a huge empire.
Right.
He had his sights on the Persian one too.
Okay.
The oracle at Delphi told Croesus that if he attacked the Persians, he would destroy a great empire.
Yeah, but wait for it, wait for it.
So he did attack the Persians, but to his great surprise, he lost the war. So the oracle came true, but not in the way he wanted.
The empire was destroyed, but the empire wasn't
The empire
done.
was destroyed. Fortunately, it was his own. By now, you're probably wondering what's the connection between earthquakes and prophecies. Well, Delphi actually sits on top of two intersecting earthquake faults.
Yep.
Geologists have recently found that these faults pass right through the inner sanctum where the Pythia was thought to have sat.
Where she got high, man.
Now, we know that
Sulfuric
some faults
fumes.
emit noxious and even hallucinogenic gases.
There you go. Hold it.
According to ancient writers, before going into a trance, the Pythia would drink from a spring running through the site. She would inhale intoxicating vapours from deep within the earth, vapours which would loosen her tongue.
See? Like me. Loosen my mouth.
Geologists have found that water from a spring near the Delphi Oracle contains a gas called ethylene.
Yeah. Ethanol.
This sweet-smelling gas is a narcotic. So when the Pythia went to her enclosed subterranean
I told you she got high.
future,
You thought I was looking at my backside.
concentrations of ethylene coming out of the fault line strong enough to induce a trance.
See what I mean?
In other words, she was as high as a kite.
Talk about it. Go on. Tell her.
It's thousands of years since people
Motherfucker.
flocked to the oracle at Delphi to have their futures foretold.
High
These days, we don't have to travel as far.
as a kite.
Simply